Millionaire takes taxi at midnight. Shocking reunion with his college sweetheart. It was a night like no other. The clock struck midnight, and the streets pulsed with an electric energy. Cars zoomed by, their headlights slicing through the darkness as if they carried secrets of their own. In the heart of the city, a sleek black taxi pulled up, the kind you'd think belonged to only the rich and famous. The door swung open, and out stepped Carter Reynolds, a millionaire who seemed right out of a movie. A sharp suit, a confident grin, but beneath it all, an air of desperation clung to him like a shadow. What was he doing at this hour, alone, in a taxi? His eyes darted around, as if searching for something, or someone. The street was cold, damp. You could feel the anxiety radiating off of him, the tightness in his chest. Just hours ago, he'd been at a gala, surrounded by laughter and light. But now, there was only silence, and the faint echo of something lost. Across the street, in that dimly lit diner that seemed stuck in a different time, sat Hannah. The moment she saw him, her heart stopped. They hadn't spoken in years. What could she possibly say? She watched him as he instructed the driver, his voice crisp, but the words carried a tremor. It was as if she could see the memories flickering in his mind: late nights studying, stolen kisses under the stars, and the bittersweet promise of forever. But now, all that remained was an ache. Suddenly, a fierce gust of wind howled through the alleyway, rattling the diner's old sign. Hannah shivered despite the warmth of her coffee. Were those tears in Carter's eyes? Or was it just the reflection of the neon lights? The tension hung thick, palpable. Had he come back for closure, or was it something more? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With her pulse racing, Hannah slipped out of the booth, the door chiming a soft warning as she stepped into the night. Was this really happening? Each step felt like a leap into the unknown. As she approached, Carter turned, and in that instant the world fell away. Carter, she whispered, her breath hitching. The question lingered: what had brought him back? Was it regret, or something deeper that neither of them could name? The atmosphere crackled with uncertainty, and Hannah felt it, the raw, unhealed wounds of their past gathering like a storm on the horizon. But before they could even embrace, a loud crash echoed from the alley behind them, freezing them both in place. It shattered the moment, swirling around them like dark smoke. What could be lurking in the shadows? The night had just become a stage for secrets, and their reunion was only the beginning of unraveling a mystery far darker than either had imagined. The sound of the crash sent chills down Hannah's spine. The world around them shifted as they locked eyes, confusion blending with fear. Carter's heart raced, and the confidence that had brought him here began to wane. What was that? Hannah's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Anxiety surged through her veins as she instinctively took a step closer to Carter. "Stay back," he ordered, his protective instinct kicking in even as his breath came in shallow gasps. The noise had been too loud, too violent. It was unrelenting. The urban chaos of their city suddenly felt like a vast, dark wilderness. Carter scanned the alleyway, his instincts honed from years of navigating dangerous deals, as a businessman ranging from the high-stakes world of Wall Street to slippery negotiations in dingy backrooms. But tonight, this felt different. A shadow flickered against the damp bricks, moving. Someone or something was there. "Hannah," he breathed, gripping her wrist. "We should get out of here." Before they could make a move, a figure burst into the light. It was a man, rugged and wild-eyed, clad in torn jeans and a leather jacket. Panic hung in the air. "Get back. Stay away from him," the stranger shouted, his voice strained. Carter stepped forward instinctively, his heart pounding. "Wait, what do you want?" The man's gaze flickered between them, searching for truths hidden beneath the surface. He can't be trusted. You don't know what he has done. Hannah's breath hitched. Carter's expression twisted into shock, confusion clouding his features. What are you talking about? Carter snapped, trying to maintain control over the escalating chaos. Who are you? I know about the money, Carter. The man shouted, stepping closer. I know about the deal you made. There are lives at stake. Hannah felt nausea swirl in her stomach. A deal? Lives at stake? The night cloaked them in shadows and secrets, and fear began to seep into every crack of her heart. But what could Carter, the man she once loved, have to do with any of this? The past came rushing back, the young couple, innocent dreams, and then nothingness. Carter's eyes glinted with anger and something deeper, regret. You don't understand, he said, his voice rising above the tension. That was a long time ago. I was desperate enough to ruin lives? The stranger hissed. Your choices have a price, Carter. Hannah felt the world twist beneath her feet. She wanted to scream, to flee, to steal away from this moment where love blurred into betrayal. What happened, Carter? What did you do? For the first time, she saw the fear in his eyes, the crack in his armor. As the stranger's accusations hung there, heavy and suffocating, an ominous siren wailed in the distance, slicing through the tension like a knife. Somewhere, chaos was brewing. Carter turned to Hannah, anguish etched across his face. I need to explain, but it's not safe here. Before she could respond, the man lunged forward, trying to grab Carter. In the struggle, a gun fell from the stranger's jacket, clattering against the pavement, its cold steel glinting in the neon glow. Hannah's breath caught in her throat as the world around her spun. They were caught in a whirlwind, two hearts entwined in a nightmare ignited by years of hidden truths. Carter and the man wrestled with desperation, while Hannah stood paralyzed, her heart racing. The night was filled with secrets begging to be uncovered, only with the risk of losing everything. But just then, a car sped around the corner, headlights blazing bright, aimed directly at them. Was it salvation or doom? And in that instant, as the screeching tires echoed on the empty streets, Hannah's mind raced with what came next. What would she choose to believe? What would it cost her to find out the truth? The car careened toward them, headlights filling the alley with an unforgiving glare. Hannah squinted, heart racing as shadows danced across her vision. Who would be behind the wheel? Could they possibly help or bring even more chaos? Carter and the stranger's tussle escalated, limbs thrashing as they grappled, the gun lying ominously on the ground, like a ticking time bomb waiting for someone to make a wrong move. Get down! Carter yelled suddenly, shoving the man's shoulder. With the force of desperation, he pushed him aside just as the car skidded to a halt, the engine roaring. The driver, a broad-shouldered man with a grim expression, leaped out, eyes darting between the three figures. What the hell is going on here? He asked, urgency dancing in his voice. The stranger's face twisted further into rage and panic. Yes, a monster. Yes, put us all in danger. Hannah's stomach dropped. She couldn't tell who was telling the truth. Everything felt like a bad dream, a web of lies and secrets. Her heart thudded violently as the driver advanced, oblivious to the chaos in the alley. Step away from her, Carter. The driver leaned forward, fists clenched. He radiated authority, ready to protect. But protect whom? Carter glanced back at Hannah, the raw desperation in his eyes igniting fierce turmoil inside her. You don't know what this is about. I never meant for it to go this far. She opened her mouth to speak, to make sense of this madness, but nothing came out. The past felt like a distant echo, one she could almost grasp but couldn't articulate. The stranger lunged again, this time making a grab for the gun. You can't trust him. Carter was on him like a flash, tackling him to the ground. The weight of their bodies collided with a thud that sent vibrations through the pavement. Hannah! Carter shouted between gritted teeth. Get in the car! She hesitated, torn between fleeing and the desperate need to grasp what was happening. But the urgency pounded in her ears as she glanced from Carter to the stranger and then the gun, which was now out of reach in the scuffle. The driver shouted, We don't have time for this. He nodded toward the gun sliding closer to the maybe former friend, the womanizing businessman, the man whose past was looming heavier than any physical fight could solve. With shaky breaths, Hannah made her choice. She rushed toward the car, heart pounding with every step. She turned to look back just as the stranger broke free, pushing Carter away, desperation morphing into anger. "No!" Hannah screamed. She watched helplessly as the stranger grabbed the gun, bringing it up to aim. In that fraction of a second, the night held its breath. What would happen next? Fear gripped her tightly, a vice holding her in place even as her instincts screamed to run. "Carter!" she cried, her voice shaking with dread. The gun fired, a loud crack that echoed through the narrow alley. Time slowed. Heat washed over Hannah's face. She closed her eyes, bracing for the fallout. But suddenly, an unexpected sound ripped through the air. A second shot, followed by the guttural sound of despair. When she opened her eyes, the scene had transformed. Carter was motionless, shock etched across his features. The strange man lay writhing on the ground, and the car door stood ajar, revealing the driver, breathless and wide-eyed. Hannah's world spiraled. What had just happened? As confusion enveloped the air, a new sound emerged, tires screeching. A black SUV appeared at the end of the alley, windows tinted, rolling toward them with intent. In that moment, Hannah realized this wasn't over. It was just beginning. Who was in that SUV? And what did they want? The SUV roared closer, its headlights cutting through the haze of the alley like a knife. Hannah's heart raced faster than the wheels that squealed against asphalt. She felt trapped, suspended between the terror of what had just occurred and the looming threat of who was coming. The driver leaped from the SUV, tall and imposing, dressed in a sharp suit. His presence alone filled the space with an unsettling authority. The alley wind whistled around them, amplifying the tension as he scanned the scene. Hannah instinctively clutched her arms, trying to steady the tremble that ran through her. Was he a friend or foe? Caught in this swirling chaos, she could hardly process the implications of what mattered now. Everything felt surreal, like a bad movie where she was the unwilling star. What happened? The new arrival demanded, his voice cold and calculating. He stepped closer, eyeing the man on the ground, then shifting his gaze to the driver, who stood helplessly over Carter's motionless body. It was him. The stranger on the ground managed to gasp, blood seeping across the pavement. "He shot me." "No." Carter's voice broke through the chaos, shaky yet desperate. "I didn't shoot you. It was self-defense. You lunged at me." The SUV driver rolled his eyes, clearly assessing the chaos with an air of indifference. "This isn't the time for arguments." He darted forward, grasping the downed man's shirt to pull him up. The stranger let out a pained yelp. "You don't understand. We have to get out of here." His eyes fluttered with panic as he glanced toward the street. "Who's after you?" Hannah finally managed to squeeze out, her voice barely above a whisper. There was something haunting in those words, an unspoken terror hanging in the air. "They're coming for us all," the injured man replied, pain distorting his features. The accusation shifted from Carter to her, and in that moment, she almost flinched as if she were the one culpable. Suddenly, the sound of distant sirens pierced through the night. The wail crept closer, a grim reminder of the swift justice approaching. She could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on her. Carter, the driver, the man on the ground, and it made her skin crawl. "Get in the car," the driver ordered, his voice firm, attempting to restore order amidst the chaos. "No, I want to leave him," she protested, pointing to Carter's still form. The driver clenched his jaw, frustration boiling over. "We have no time. That's a cop magnet, and we're in the line of fire." Hannah hesitated, the bond she shared with Carter almost suffocating. A memory flashed, a stolen moment, laughter echoing through the halls of their college. He was reckless, but he had always had a good heart. "Are you gonna let him die?" The driver pressed, urgency pushing her closer to action. The sirens grew louder, echoing in her ears. The stranger hissed through clenched teeth. "They're not just cops, Hannah. They're here for something bigger. A knot formed in her stomach. She finally turned back to Carter, his eyes flickering open and searching hers desperately. You have to trust me, he whispered, urgency in his voice. It's not what you think, but before he could finish, Hannah made her decision. I can't leave him, she said fiercely, even as her heart raced with fear. As the sirens closed in, their shadows dancing on the walls of the alley, she knew this was where the real game began. Then stand back, the driver barked, darting forward, adrenaline propelling him into action. Hannah's heart sank, all too aware of the impending storm. What had she gotten herself into? And would she even escape whatever darkness awaited them? Get ready, the driver shouted, and as panic coursed through her veins, Hannah felt the air thicken with unrelenting dread. The night had just opened another dark chapter, and she was about to discover just how deep the rabbit hole went. What waited for them beyond the street? And would they leave the shadows behind, or be swallowed by them? The SUV driver lunged into action, urgency igniting his movements. He grasped the injured man's arm, yanking him away from the spreading pool of crimson. This isn't a game, he barked, finally showing a flicker of emotion. Hannah's heart thudded against her ribcage. A mix of fear and confusion gripped her. She didn't want to trust this man, but she had no choice. Carter, please stay with me, she whispered, kneeling beside him. His face was paler than before, beads of sweat forming along his brow. They're coming for you too, the stranger gasped, looking wide-eyed between them. It was never just me. The SUV driver cursed under his breath. No time for stories. We need to move. Hannah wanted to scream, to voice her frustration. How could they abandon Carter when his life hung by a thread? But the wail of sirens drew nearer, like a predator closing in on its prey. Tell me who they are, she demanded. There was an unsettling strength to her plea, a desperate attempt to wrestle control from chaos. The people, they don't just want him, the stranger stammered. His breaths were ragged. They're after all of us now. As those words hung in the air, Carter's fingers brushed against Hannah's arm. He winced. It's not the time. The driver's expression shifted, a flicker of understanding passing between him and Hannah. We can't let them find you here, Hannah. The cops may not be who you think they are. Hannah's stomach dropped. What did he mean? Every fiber of her being urged her to fight for Carter, to stay put. But the suffocating sound of the sirens made it clear. Time was slipping away. Just trust me, the driver implored, gesturing toward the SUV. With a deep breath, the chaos swirling around them melted into a singular focus. Survival. Okay, she whispered, her eyes darting back to Carter. But I'm not leaving him. Carter, we have to go. The driver interrupted, desperation performing a heavy dance in his voice. He glanced up, the tension in his jaw tightening against the already oppressive air. They're closer than you think. Carter gave another weak nod, pain fluttering in his gaze. Just get me out of here. With shaking hands, Hannah helped him rise, wrapping his arm around her shoulder for support. The weight of his body leaned heavily against her, but somehow she found the strength. The SUV was suddenly alive with noise, the engine revving, lights flashing against the brick walls of the alley, illuminating their frantic escape. Get in, the driver urged again, falling back to the car to hurry any lingering hesitation. Hannah hesitated for just a moment as the sirens crescendoed around them, then pushed Carter forward. They stumbled towards the SUV. But before they could get inside, a figure emerged from the shadows at the alley's entrance. A tall man, dressed in dark hues like a predator emerging from the night, an unmistakable intent on his face. Hannah! His voice sliced through the chaos, pulling her back like a spring, putting her on edge. It was Alex, her old college friend. The one who seemed to know everything, even the things she wished to forget. You're in danger. You have to come with me. Carter shifted uneasily. Who is that? Someone I trust. The strained words spilled from her lips, but shadows of doubt began creeping in. What are you doing, Hannah? The driver shot back, frustration lacing his words. This is the last person you should trust right now. Panic clawed at her throat, and uncertainty gnawed at her instincts. Looking between Carter and the approaching figure, she froze, caught between the past and the dangerous present, uncertain of where to place her loyalty. "Get in the car," the driver urged again, looking back at the approaching sirens. His eyes filled with a desperation she hadn't seen before. But had her past finally caught up with her? And when would it all break loose? With the darkness closing in, she faced a choice that could alter everything. Would she risk everything for Carter, or follow Alex's instruction and risk losing him forever? The night tightened its grip as she weighed her options while the shadows were closing in. Would they escape, or would the weight of her past bury them all? Hannah's breath caught in her throat. The shadows danced ominously, the tall figure of Alex looming like a dark cloud threatening to engulf her. He had been a friend once, back when life felt simple and the world held no secrets. The harsh light from the SUV highlighted the concern in his eyes, but she couldn't shake the feeling that old friendships could morph into something dangerous. "Listen to me," Alex urged, the urgency rising in his voice. "Carter isn't safe. It's all connected. The cops, those men in the shadows. They're hunting you." "Who are you talking about?" Hannah yelled, frustration bubbling to the surface. "What do you know?" Carter winced, clutching at his bleeding side, his strength waning by the second. "Hannah," he gasped, "we have to go. Now." But the old familiarity she once held with Alex now felt like a loaded gun. "You haven't explained anything?" she shot back at him, both fear and anger twisting her tummy like a knot. The driver, pacing between the vehicle and the two of them, shook his head. "They'll be here any second, and we can't afford to waste time." His voice cracked under pressure, panic flooding his eyes. "Enough!" Hannah shouted, the heat of her words making her own heart race. "Carter needs help. I can't just leave him." "Then you'll doom us all?" Alex hissed, a sense of urgency in his tone that sent shivers down her spine. "Look, you can't trust him. He is not who he seems." The driver slammed a hand against the hood of the SUV, frustration boiling over. "You don't know what you're talking about. I've done everything I can to keep you both safe." Hannah faced the two men, her heart hammering madly in her chest. She could feel the cold grip of reality settle in her bones. There was no clear path. Carter's eyes were pleading, filled with fear and pain. It was like watching a sinking ship. The longer they stayed in this suspense, the more they risked her shock. Alex took a step toward her. "Hannah, please, think about what happened in the past. This is bigger than us." Past the memories flooded back, whispers of betrayal and shattered trust. It was easier to block them out back then. But tonight, those shadows grew long, and the truth screamed louder than her betrayal. "Enough!" she yelled with renewed strength. "Who sent you? Why now?" Alex opened his mouth, but the roar of sirens grew closer, drowning out his words. Panic flooded Hannah's instincts. They had to move, but she felt like she was wading through thick mud, unable to decide. Suddenly, the driver pointed. "Go, go, go!" Hannah felt a surge of adrenaline pushing her toward the SUV, pulling Carter along with her. He stumbled but didn't fall. He relied on her, trusting she'd lead him to safety. But just as they reached the vehicle, the figure from the shadows shifted. The tall man charged. Shining headlights reflected off something metallic in his hand. Hannah's heart dropped. "Get in!" the driver screamed, slamming the door open. Hannah felt her body reacting on its own, a desperate surge driving her. But she hesitated just long enough to lock eyes with Alex, his expression pure desperation mixed with a hint of sorrow. "Don't let him take you," he shouted, his voice breaking like glass. In the split second before the world erupted into chaos, Hannah made her choice. She couldn't split her loyalty any longer. "Carter, hold on," she cried as she dove into the SUV, pulling him inside as Alex lunged toward them. The driver slammed the door, the engine roared to life. Tires screeched against pavement just as the sound of gunfire shattered the air, splintering through the night like a lightning strike. Hannah's heart raced as the SUV lurched forward, speeding away while the shadows of her past clawed at her like a relentless tide. But what lay ahead? Who could she truly trust? As the city lights blurred and danger loomed close behind, one thought pressed on her mind. Would they escape the hell that was closing in, or would the truth finally tear them apart? The roar of the engine filled Hannah's ears, drowning out the chaos left behind them. Every beat of her heart felt like a warning, harsh and demanding. She turned to Carter, whose pallor matched the moonlight spilling through the windows. His eyes were glazed, and Hannah didn't know if the fear or the blood loss was draining his spirit. "Stay with me, Carter," she whispered, her voice shaky. She pressed her palm against the wound at his side, feeling warmth seep between her fingers. "Hang in there. Okay?" He gritted his teeth, nodding weakly. "I'm trying." The driver swerved sharply, narrowly avoiding an approaching vehicle. He grunted, eyes fixed frontward with intensity. "They're right behind us. Hold on tight." She could hear the faint sound of engines revving in the distance, a sinister chorus pursuing them into the darkness. The weight of uncertainty pressed against her chest. Was Alex really an enemy? Had their past tainted her judgment so deeply that she could no longer tell friend from foe? Who were those guys? Hannah pressed the driver, fear gnawing at her throat. Why were they chasing us? Doesn't matter. They're dangerous, that's all you need to know. He clenched the wheel tighter, his knuckles turning white. Alex knew we had to get out of there fast. He wouldn't have come unless it was vital. That doesn't make sense. Hannah countered, glancing back. The streetlights flickered, revealing a vehicle in pursuit, its headlights cutting through the darkness like a knife. If he was trying to help, why didn't he tell us anything? The driver shot her an irritated glance. This isn't the time for a debate. His voice had an edge sharp as glass. Just focus on keeping him alive. We can sort this out later. Carter let out a low groan, his strength fading fast. "Hannah," he gasped, "I need to get to a hospital." "I can't know." Hannah interrupted, feeling a wave of desperation wash over her. "They'll find us there." The last place they needed to be was trapped where the walls closed in. But deep inside, fear twisted her stomach. Time was slipping away, and a sudden bang echoed behind them, the sound exploding like a thunderclap. The driver swore under his breath, pushing the SUV harder down the empty road. Hannah's mind raced. What if they know where we're going? What if they're not tracking us through GPS? The driver's words were clipped. "But they will tail us until we run out of road. We need to find a safe place." A sharp turn sent Carter lurching against her, pain flashing across his face. "God, I'm sorry," Hannah murmured, her heart aching as she watched him wince. She wanted to comfort him, to soothe his pain, but they were running on borrowed time. Ahead, she spotted a dimly lit alley. What about there? She pointed eagerly, desperate for any refuge. The driver hesitated but ultimately made the call, steering the vehicle toward the narrowing opening. As they turned into the shadows, the driver killed the headlights, plunging them into an uneasy darkness. Hannah's breath quickened as silence cloaked the SUV, broken only by the rhythmic thumping of her heart. "Is this safe?" she whispered, dread clawing at her throat. The driver didn't reply, his eyes scanning the street beyond the alley. Hannah held her breath, straining to hear the sound of the fleeing vehicle. Would they pass by, unaware of their hiding place? Carter gripped her hand, and she felt the warmth fade away from his skin. "Help me," he rasped again, his voice barely above a whisper, tinged with urgency. And in that moment, the enormity of their situation settled onto her shoulders. The darkness surrounded them like a living thing, and she sensed it breathing, watching. It felt suffocating and isolating. Suddenly, headlights pierced the gloom, illuminating the alley entrance. Hannah's heart jumped. "Get down," the driver hissed, ducking low. Hannah and Carter instinctively followed his lead, but as she glanced up, she saw a figure emerge from the light. Was it Alex, or something much more sinister? And in that instant all questions collided in her mind. Trusting Alex might have been her biggest mistake. As the man stepped closer, Hannah knew one thing for certain. Nothing would ever be the same, not for any of them. But who was truly hunting whom? Hannah held her breath, the air thick with uncertainty as the figure stepped out of the light. He was tall, silhouetted against the glow, and there was something familiar about that outline. The reminder of a time that once felt safe but now felt like a lie twisted in her gut as the man approached. She squinted, desperate to make out his features through the darkness. For a brief second, her mind longed to disregard the danger and linger on feelings of nostalgia. But the sight of a gun strapped to his leg pulled her back to reality. "Stay down," the driver urged again, his voice low but urgent. Carter winced beside her, but his grip remained firm around her hand. Hannah felt his heartbeat swelling against her palm, a pulse of mortality reminding her that time was running out for them both. It was impossible to tell if the man was friend or foe. Fear raced through Hannah's veins as she heard the crunch of gravel beneath his boots. Each step echoed like a countdown. "Alex!" the man suddenly called out, breaking the silence. The name hung heavy in the air, and Hannah's heart sank at the mention. It was him. "Alex, are you okay?" The voice was steady but laced with urgency, and for a moment, she saw the glimmer of her once best friend shining through. "Why are you here?" the driver snapped, still crouched low as he peeked out cautiously. "They're coming." "Not here to fight," Alex replied, a hint of desperation creeping into his tone. "Just want to help." "Help?" Hannah's voice trembled, a mixture of disbelief and anger boiling up inside her. "You dragged us into this. You had a chance to explain, and now look where we are hiding like criminals." "Who were those guys?" "Not the time for that. We need to move." Alex's eyes darted, acknowledging the chaos brewing just outside their refuge. "How do we know you're not playing us, too?" Hannah shot back, the betrayal boiling in her chest. The feelings swirled like a storm, confusion battling with distrust. "I'm not. I can prove it. Just trust me, please." The driver interrupted. "No time. They're closing in. If he's telling the truth, we've got to act now or it's over." Hannah's breath hitched. Everything felt surreal. They could risk staying hidden, but in doing so, were they signing their own death warrant? Or could Alex be the key to a way out of this nightmare? "Carter," she whispered, her voice pleading, desperate for guidance. She could see the fading light in his eyes, the pleading for survival matched with an ever-looming end. "We don't have much time, Hannah," Carter gasped, fighting through the pain. "We have to decide suddenly." The ominous roar of engines shattered the night air, approaching rapidly. "Follow me. Now." Alex beckoned, stepping back into the alley while motioning for them to get out of the vehicle. Hannah weighed her options in a split second, a tangled web of loyalty and survival. The darkness felt alive, pressing against them. Did she dare take a leap of faith? "Let us go," the driver shouted, urgency cutting across her thoughts. With a flicker of desperation, Hannah squeezed Carter's hand tighter and moved toward Alex, the shadows enveloping them as they slipped deeper into the unknown. But as they ran further into the alley, a chilling realization settled over Hannah. Whatever awaited them beyond that darkness was far more dangerous than the unknown they had just escaped. Just then, a figure stepped into the alley entrance. "You can't hide forever," a voice called, slicing through the tension like a knife. Hannah stopped in her tracks, her heart racing anew. Who were they now? And how much danger lay ahead? Panic surged as the man's silhouette contrasted against the dim alley light. Hannah's heart hammered in her chest. Who was he? The weight of her decision pressed hard on her shoulders like a shroud. As Alex urged them on, another voice echoed back, slicing through the darkness. "Where do you think you're going?" The figure from the entrance stepped closer, revealing a face she never wanted to see again. It was Mike, the one person Hannah had sworn never to let back into her life. A mix of old hatred and new fear twisted inside her. Carter squeezed her hand tighter, sensing her distress. "Hannah, focus." His voice was a whisper of strength even as he leaned heavily against the wall. "Alex," Hannah shot back, her voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. "This is your chance to prove you're not the enemy. What do we do now?" "I know Mike," Alex replied, urgency bleeding into his tone. "He.S. not with them. He.S. trying to help." "Help?" The irony choked her, but Mike seemed unaffected. He stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Please, Hannah, we're running out of time." The people coming are dangerous, he urged. I've been trying to track them. You can trust me. Before she could respond, a chilling noise cut through the night. A shrill scream, distant yet close enough to make her skin crawl. The sound of tires screeching abruptly shattered the uneasy truce in the alley. They're here, the driver shouted, eyes wide with terror. We have to move now. What about Carter? She turned desperately to the driver. He can't run. Just get him to safety. We can't leave him. Alex pushed, his frustration palpable. Time distorted, seconds stretching into an eternity as fear collided with adrenaline. The walls of the alley seemed to close in like a hunteress trap. Carter, can you stand? Hannah pleaded, her heart racing as she knelt beside him. I'll try, he gasped, face pale and gaunt, sweat beading on his forehead. Get behind me, Alex ordered, moving between Hannah and the entrance as darkness loomed closer. Hannah hoisted Carter to his feet, just as the engines from outside roared like angry beasts. Shadows danced erratically, casting monstrous shapes against the grimy brick walls. Go, Mike shouted, desperation returning in waves. I'll hold them off. I'm not leaving you, Hannah shouted back, grounding herself in solidarity. Yet as the chaos outside erupted with horrible ferocity, every instinct screamed to run. Hannah, think, we can't win this fight, the driver yelled, pulling her toward the far end of the alley. His eyes darted into the shadows, weighing their options. We have to survive. But before they could make a decision, a shout rang out. Capture them. Don't let them get away. Hannah's breath caught in her throat. There was something terrifying in that command. A promise that they wouldn't escape this night unscathed. What do we do? She pressed, her body taut with fear. Move. Now, Alex urged, sprinting toward another exit. As they stumbled deeper into the darkness, the clamor of pursuit lingered behind, relentless and unforgiving. But who truly was the hunter now, and who was the prey? As they neared the mouth of another alley, a gunshot rang out. The loud crack echoed, and a chilling feeling washed over Hannah. Someone had made their choice. Would they find safety? Or was this just the beginning of their descent into chaos? The sound of the gunshot shattered the night like glass. Time froze for Hannah. All she could think was, no. The echoes of that sharp crack sent tremors of fear through her. Carter's face was a mixture of pain and determination, but she could see the life bleeding from his grip. Keep moving, the driver shouted, voice snapping her back to urgency. They stumbled forward, adrenaline propelling them as they ran deeper into the city's underbelly. Hannah's heart pounded, her breath hitching in desperation. We can't leave Mike, she shouted, her voice thin and frantic. Mike is buying us time. We have to save Carter. Alex yelled back, tugging her forward as sirens wailed again, closer than before. Hannah peered back, glimpsing shadows crashing through the entrance, chasing them down the alley. No, go back. She fought against Alex's grip, but the pain in Carter's side cut through her will. He's in danger. Trust me. Hannah, we'll come back. Right now, focus on keeping him alive, Alex insisted, his voice firm. They took another turn, ducking into a quieter side street, but the darkness still closed in on them. Hannah could hear her heart pounding in her ears, drowning out the chaos outside. We need to find a hospital, she gasped. They'll be waiting. The driver replied, urgency brewing in every syllable. We need to patch him up first before they catch our scent. But I'm fine. Just hurry, Carter grunted, his voice strained. They stumbled upon an old, abandoned storefront, darkness pooling in its corners. Without hesitation, the driver yanked the door open. In here. Stay low. Inside, the air was stale, tangled in memories of a long-forgotten past. Hannah quickly helped Carter inside, blocking the door behind them. He leaned against the wall, breathing heavily, face flushed with pain. Is it bad? She whispered, panic rising as she examined his wound. It wasn't too deep, but there was too much blood. It hurts like hell, but I'll survive. He managed a weak smile, the warm comfort of his presence edging against the overwhelming dread that loomed over them. We need to figure this out. The driver rummaged through a dusty backpack, pulling out a first aid kit. Hold still, Carter. This is going to hurt, he said gruffly, but Hannah could sense the underlying care in his voice. Carter winced as the driver cleaned the wound with a firm, methodical touch. She couldn't take her eyes off Carter's face, his resolve mixed with fear reflected back at her. What's going on? Why is this happening? She asked, her voice trembling as confusion twisted inside her. Those people. They're part of my past, Carter breathed, his brow furrowed. I made choices, mistakes that put everyone at risk. Why didn't you tell me? She pressed, voice rising in frustration. Look where it got us. Look at you. I thought I could fix it alone. I never wanted you to be involved, he replied, pain etched into his features. I was wrong. Yes, right, Hannah. It was never meant to draw you in, Alex added, looking toward the door, his body tense. But now you are. And those men, whoever they are, not only want Carter. They want everyone connected to him. Silence hung heavy. Their fates tangled together. Secrets split open like raw wounds. What do we do next? She asked, moving to the window to scan the street below. We wait, the driver said, catching his breath. If we leave too soon, they'll find us. We need a plan. Carter took Hannah's hand, warmth flooding through her fingers. Promise. I'll get us out of this, he said softly, sincerity igniting hope amidst the darkness. I'll fix this. But something flickered outside. The heavy footsteps of approaching figures echoed on the pavement. Hannah's heart stuttered. They're here, she whispered, terror crawling up her spine. Stay quiet, the driver hissed, lowering himself near the door. Their breaths hitched, each passing moment stretched into an eternity. Shadows moved outside, figures shifting beneath the dim streetlights. The whispers of danger pressed against the cracked glass. A physical chill creeping through Hannah. Do you have a way out? Alex asked urgently. Back exit leads to the alley. The driver murmured, body tense, ready to fight. But it's going to be tricky, and we need to make it out together. Everyone. Then, the door rattled suddenly, a heavy hand banging against the wood. You can't hide forever. A voice growled from the other side. Get ready, the driver commanded, his grip tightening on the handle. Hannah's heart raced. There was no more time to waste. As the door began to yield beneath the weight of their pursuers, she felt the urgency seep through every fiber of her being. Now, the driver shouted, swinging the door open and racing out into the night. The alley beckoned like a gateway to salvation, but a trap lay beyond it. With one last look at Carter, fear knotted tight in her throat. Hannah followed him into the unknown, a glimmer of hope lighting the darkness. They burst outside, the night air slamming into them like a wave. Move! Chaos erupted, the sound of voices rising, the echo of footsteps behind them. Every instinct screamed to run harder, to survive. They sprinted down the alley, adrenaline pumping, their lives now tangled against the volatile night. Would the echoes of the past swallow them whole, or would they break free into a dawn unblemished by what had come before? Only the steps they took now would write their destiny, no turning back, no more hiding. Carter and Hannah raced toward the edge of the night, ready to face whatever awaited them, each heartbeat whispering that hope still flickered even through the storm now. With their story on the brink of unfolding, they would discover just how strong the bonds of trust could be, and whether love could light a path through the darkest shadows. As the silence deepened behind, the sound of their escape filled the air, a beat pulsing from their hearts, and the night trembled. This was where their true journey began, and as they pushed deeper into the world beyond, they would never stand alone again. The mystery of the night swirled around them, and they were ready to confront it together. Don't miss the next thrilling chapter. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button for the algorithm, and flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about what just happened. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything,